Hello, my Gummy Knights, and welcome back to the Echo Chamber. Now, I know, I've been away for a dramatically long time, which is fair to say for any level of criticism that you want to level at me, and my last video was a bit controversial. That's fair enough to say. I can understand why some people may not have entirely agreed with the take, and that's fine. I mean, I still hold to the sentiments of that video and everything that was in that video. I mean, I definitely do mean it. I've not been shy about sharing my political viewpoints in the past, but I try to keep it away from the channel as much as possible because this is not really a politics channel. This is besides the point. This is going to be pretty much the last video of the year before we get right back into the grind going into the new year, and a whole bunch of sort of other videos and stuff coming out, including debunks, which is what this video is about. Because, you know, that's what you guys subscribe for, and that's what you're here for me to destroy ignorant plebeians who don't know a single thing about what they're talking about. And I primarily am going to stick to my guns on this one because we have a 17-minute-long reel session, okay? This dude has done nothing but watch YouTube Shorts, TikToks, Reels. I mean, hell, he's probably watching Red Note because he has no freaking idea in regards to any of these characters' powers and abilities that you have subscribed here. But this is not the issue. I can let it slide because ultimately, he still comes to the same outcome that you're expected him to come to, because it's the outcome that everybody should be coming to. And that's that the quote-unquote new gen versus the old gen when it comes to the villains versus the heroes is pretty obvious in terms of the heroes that he put up there on the roster versus the villains he put up there on the roster. None of the villains on this roster, save for Lucius and Gara, are even worth a damn. Everyone else on this roster, in regards to new gen villains, are honest. I don't know why we even put them up here. I mean, the villains got trash too, like Gon. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If you want to say that Gon, at the height of his powers in regards to how much he's able to produce in terms of raw scaling, you can compare him to Miriam. Even then, that's pretty much debatable. It's not really a strong comparison. It's more like Gon may have raw output or raw AP in comparison to Miriam, but he's not technically on that level, obviously. But even if you wanted to sit there and give him the benefit of the doubt, you can only scale him to about mountain range level with that level of scaling. So Gon is still going to be stronger than a lot of the new gen anime villains that are being up here, but he's pretty much irrelevant in terms of the hero scale because everyone on the heroes roster is not only above that, but they're tremendously above it. That is not even a conversation. I don't know why he's here for the heroes team because really you only just need one person because this moron decided to, of course, include Goku and And that's, of course, what we're here for. You guys all knew it was coming. You guys all knew the second that you saw it pop up on the channel that as a Dragon Ball stan, okay, we standing Dragon Ball from the disrespect still. In the big 2025, at the end of the year, we're going into the 2026, we still have nonsense like this. Goku doesn't even show up to pretty much the end of this video, and this dude had the audacity to sit here and still do some nonsense. The second that Goku showed up, the video should have been over, right? There should have been no debate. Because despite all the nonsense he says against Ichigo, keep in mind, he lowballs Ichigo scaling so much to the point to where it's not even funny in terms of how he would scale him against characters like Lucius Sukuna. Talk about some Ichigo who would struggle.
And then there's the battle everyone is waiting for. Ichigo versus Sukuna. The Shinigami against the King of Curses. Sukuna summons Maharaga to adapt to Ichigo's attacks, while unleashing his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine, to shred the battlefield with cleave and dismantle. Ichigo is forced onto constant guard as the environment itself is torn apart.
What, are you retarded?
Come on, man. Come on. The lowest you can scale Ichigo is to high planetary. I'm sorry. What? I know there's a lot of dick suckers out there for Black Clover in regards to Lucius' abilities, especially when it comes to his hacks. I mean, you guys have probably heard of a few of them. Some of them haven't really had a lot of prominence, but when it comes to the Black Clover scalers, there is a lot of dick suck. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We can't get around it. But here's the thing. None of that's relevant. Because you can even argue Luffy. This guy got Luffy to island level.
And then there's raw power. Muzan's feats, tearing apart buildings, blitzing humans, sound monstrous until you compare them to Luffy casually trading blows with Kaido, a Yonko who split the skies with Big Mom. You're talking mountain-level destructive force versus city-level at best.
You can even argue Luffy that is at continental, potentially moon to even planetary himself. You can argue that, especially with some of the cow stacking that you have from the abilities of characters who can sort of one-shot countries, which are pretty much the size of continents inside of One Piece, because One Piece as a planet, we'll go ahead and point this out, this whole it scales above the galaxy is simply not true. That's people doing bad scaling, but it is pretty much larger than Earth that you can consider it. And there's a lot of statements and notations backing that up in regards to feats, saying that pretty much something like island level in One Piece means something different than island level in a normal context. Island level over there kind of puts you at like small country to country levels. Anyway, completely irrelevant. Most of the villains here don't stack up to that, except for Gara and Lucius, which is fair to bring up. But then he brought Goku in, which is what we're talking about here. The second he brought Goku in, it should have been Because you can make arguments all day. Keep in mind, Garo, since he's using the awakened form Garo, he's using his divine form, does pretty much solo dolo pretty much all the hero roster except for Goku. So yes, the battle becomes kind of impossible until you add a Goku in. And then this Nigoro, this pathetic, feculous piece of scum, decide to have the audacity to say that Garo would in any way compare to Goku. Not even the OPM fan-made dick suckers do that. Even they know that Garo were absolutely one-shot by Goku. The only person who they ever consider in that entire anime, in the entire manga, in the entire scaling chain that can be competing with Goku is Saitama. They don't use anybody else for good reason, because they know how retarded it is. Garo's feats, in regards to his scale, don't do anything for him in relation to Goku, especially because this retard had the audacity to say Mugachi Wanagokuri would struggle. That Garo can even potentially beat him in a one-on-one fight.
Huh?
He had the audacity to say this. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought this video may be rage bait, but at the same time, I don't want to just assume that it's rage bait. I'm gonna assume that he's being as genuine as possible, but just not good faith. I mean, it's not even about the necessary contradictions that he may have made or may not have made, because I don't really find a lot of that in there. It's not so much that he's contradicting himself in regards to information, he just doesn't know the information he's talking about. He's pretty much one of those people who looked up on Wikipedia and said, oh, let me look at the wiki. The wiki says this, it says that. Oh, I guess Goku can shoot and destroy a planet or something, I guess. You know, that's what it says on the wiki. Fine. But, I mean, it's not really true. Balmer's wiki at least has Goku at Universal. So the fact that he didn't include that, but still want to say that Garo wouldn't struggle, that, or at least that Garo has a potential to win. Not so much he wouldn't struggle, but he has a potential to win, that Goku would struggle, and then would take everybody ganging up on him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody ganging up on him doesn't matter. If you say that Goku is struggling, adding a bunch of losers who are nowhere near Garo's level isn't going to be beneficial to Goku. They're just getting in the way. So by your own logic, they still fail, especially if you account for Lucius's time magic and soul magic, which, by the way, he doesn't really understand how that works. And I mean, look, there's so much wrong in this video that, like I said, I want to specifically focus on the Dragon Ball part, but this whole, well, Luffy could just literally create a sun.
Muzan doesn't even enter the same conversation. And let's not forget, Luffy is Sun God Nika. If he really wanted to, he could just manifest a blazing sun right in front of Muzan.
No, 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 no,
And for a demon who can't handle sunlight, that's game over before the fight even gets exciting.
Even if you always sit there and apply the logistics of Toon Force to Luffy, never once has he even come close to making something on the equivalent level or having the same level of AP and output as creating a sun. He's certainly using the naming fallacy. Oh, he's called Sun God Nika, so therefore, he can just create a sun. I legitimately don't know where this moron even got that from. Like, maybe y'all can tell me, okay? Maybe I'll admit it. It's not that I'm not caught up on One Piece to the degree that I am. You know, I know all about Luffy's more recent Gear 5 engagements, but maybe I've missed something because I'm not caught up on the latest arcs. I mean, I'm serious. Excuse me, not the latest arcs, but the latest chapters. So I'm not caught up on that. So maybe in these last few chapters, he's pulled out something that says he could literally replicate any of the attributes and just create a sun. Like I said, even if you want to apply Toon Force, which, by the way, Luffy doesn't fall under Toon Force. Oh, but the movie teams, I had a man, Warren Burns got in it. Yeah, I don't care. It's not Toon Force. And a degree that we would know Toon Force to be. And even if you want to apply that, it's a very, very low scale of Toon Force. Well, I'm not here to debunk Luffy. The point is to debunk this nonsense about the quote-unquote scale of which you could ascertain. So,
it's because it's time for the final stage 5, where humanity's greatest savior, Goku, joins the old gen side. And this time, it's an all-out war. Sensing how dire the situation has become, Goku wastes no time. Instantly taps into Ultra Instinct. His
No.
aura radiating across the battlefield like a beacon of hope. Meanwhile, Gato, always seeking the strongest opponent, locks eyes with him. Their paths collide, and the clash of monsters begin. That means in this stage, Gato faces Goku head-on, while the rest of the matchups remain the same as in stage 4. Now, let's be real. Goku isn't having an easy time here. Gato fights almost like a Saiyan himself. Every blow, every counter only makes him stronger. The longer the fight goes on, the faster he adapts, inching closer to Goku's level. Before long, he's even pushing Ultra Instinct to its limits.
Wrong!
as you guys can see, what is said right then and there is absolutely disgusting. Like, on what planet are you talking about? There is no such thing as a struggle. Gao, at his highest level of feats, can be considered to be multi-solar system. And that's with Wank, because the same page that sits there and shows that Gao and Saitama were able to blast away a whole of observable stars, that same place is then covered up again. It's almost as if what they were essentially just creating an absence of light in space, which is very impressive. But considering that the scaling chain basically calls this a planetary feat in regards to the Times Square serious punch, Even if you want to sit there and say that the gamma burst was just consist within the scale of something like a supernova, you could potentially get it up to there, especially when you're talking about gamma rays and all that. It's just that the manga kind of contradicts. And even Garo blast, seeing the Jupiter's gases get blasted away, which Saitama's feat there can be considered a large planetary feat. Garo was scared shitless while even in Saitama's form. So there's a lot of contradictions to the notion. I'm not gonna sit there and say he's below solar system. I'm not one of those guys. Okay, I'm gonna try to give him his flowers, but I'm just saying the manga contradicts itself in regards to his scaling there. So, but even still, putting him at multi-solar system doesn't even get him up to Goku's knee flaps. Okay, you're talking about Cell Saga level characters, and even then, that's debatable, because going back to the Frieza and Namek Saga, the whole universal claims and statements, something hasn't been refuted, and it's not out of context, and it's consistently played, you can make the argument here that pretty much he stops at around Ginyu. Okay, that is where quote-unquote multi-solar system level god, I guess, height will stop. Now, if you want to say galaxy level, then yeah, he's getting into those Cell Saga levels of power. That's fair enough to say, because they're consistent low ball, and yes, it is a low ball, is around that galaxy level tier. So if you want to sit there and say that that's where you think Goku and them are in the Cell Saga, perfectly fine, well, it's not reasonable, I won't say reasonable, but it's perfectly fine for the context of this video. Not that it matters, because Goku is infinitely above that. He would not struggle at all. He would literally just vaporize all of them. I don't even need to go over any of the real scaling. That's why this video is going to be super short. Because I don't need to go over any of the real scaling. I can even do low ball scaling sheets that most of these stupid retards who don't know anything about Dragon Ball use. And we Goku to low multi. Yeah, that's right. I'm using low multi today, gang. I'm using low multi Goku. And he still obliterates. Because a hypothetical multi-solar system to galaxy level, Garo at his strongest beats, his strongest abilities, yeah, that doesn't really do anything for the scaling in regards to somebody who's low multiversal. And of course, that's just from the clash with betas, and Goku's gotten hundreds of dozens of thousands of times, millions of times stronger. Pretty much that's the end of the video, guys. It's like, I feel that this wasn't necessarily rage bait, but like I said, it's just a disingenuous, this honesty that comes into it. And the reason why I'm even making this video, because I know people are going to say, wow, it's very low tack. That's fair enough to say, but the reason I'm making it is because I want people to avoid that. A big problem, and it is not a tangent, a big problem that I have with a lot of these bigger YouTubers and a lot of these bigger so-called scalers is that they get this occult following. And sure, it could be bots, it could be AI nonsense, it could be YouTube just fucking around, but they get so much play. They get so many subscribers, and this is the nonsense that they're producing. Now, luckily enough, a lot of people in this guy's video on this subject in particular were looking at this like, that's pretty dumb, that's pretty crazy. They were thinking to themselves that this was, of course, rage bait. Which, like I said, I don't think it's rage bait. I think that this dude is just an ignorant normie. He is the classification of a normie. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I want you guys to stand up to that normalization. I don't want you guys to fall into the trapping of people who just simply look up and Google from a Battle versus Wiki page and don't even actually read everything on that Wiki page. Just look up bare bones information and then try to sell it to you in a 17-minute video. 17 minutes. 17-minute video. When obviously the only character you actually need is Ichigo. And he might be overkill. Okay? Hell, if you want to sit there and argue Natsu coming in, and if basically people like Makima, which is ridiculous of a concept of him to even do, but Natsu can essentially be scaled up to those near 4th beam levels of power too in regards to hacks, depending on how you want to scale Zareth. This is why it's totally batch insane to me that you have what is essentially a bunch of characters, three distinct characters. One is definitely confirmed in those levels, and pretty much higher, that being Goku, and you have two possible characters in that level of tier when it comes to the quote-unquote low multiversal level of tier. I'm using remote T Goku for the sake of argument for this video's purposes, but I'm just saying, this is criminal, guys. This is criminal, because Ichigo, if you want to sit there and dick suck him, you can get him up to low multiversal. And if you want to sit there and play Tanatsu strengths, you want to kind of dick suck him, you get him up to low multiversal. So you have two potential characters to get up to low multiversal, and you have one who objectively would be at that level even by the most lowest of low-balling scalers, and then for the actual objective scale being extremely higher than that, because that would just be the constant battle of gods. Goku would be significantly above that, and even a lot of your favorite people who don't know anything about scaling in Dragon Ball would even have to admit that. But this guy, the point, and what I'm doing is talking about the idea that this level of ridiculousness cannot be continued to be spread around. There should be no normalization of this type of low-tier scaling. I don't care. I understand that a lot of people are in the normie community and don't really look at anime's nuances when it comes to stuff like scaling because they think, oh, just a bunch of nerd dick-sucking themselves, bunch of neckbeards who don't give a shit about anything. It's like, fine, cool, whatever. Power scaling is very important. Okay, I may in the video even make a, I may in the future even make a video on the necessities of power scaling because yes, it is very important. This whole character A versus character B and then character C come into the middle, all right? You got character A could be character B, but that doesn't mean that character B can be character C. It doesn't mean that character C can lose to character A. basic tiers of power scaling. That is a necessity. And even people who constantly hate on their shit or they try to dog on you, use power scaling for their own videos where they try to argue the context of feats. They themselves use power scaling while telling you that it's absolutely nerd shit and garbage tier and you're an idiot, you're clearing, bro. But here's the thing. This ain't it, chief. You don't sit there and say nonsense like this and then get hundreds of likes, hundreds of subscribers, have a channel thousands of times bigger than a lot of small-sized channels who are just trying to make it out there by actually doing research, by actually deep diving. You get people like this scumbag who get to overshoot them, who get to go out there and shoot for the stars, get to surpass them with this AI slop. And it's fucking pathetic. But yes, there's the video, guys. Like I said, last video of the year. Pretty much a low take here, but really, this video is kind of just to address the nonsense of what we're going to be getting into going into the future, because there's still a lot of other people who need to have their asses kicked when it comes to scaling of Dragon Ball. And look at something easy to get out the way, but also address the whole idea that, yes, I'm coming back in. And if you guys do hear it, I may sound a little bit nasally, I am a little bit under the weather, and I'm extremely tired. So, with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Be on the lookout because in January, pretty much early January, we're getting another debunk video. We're just going to go to my actual usual style of debunk, and we're going to be kicking it into gear. Because, oh boy, most people think I forgot, because most people still tag me in like a list, because I did ask for it. I'm like, hey, give me a list of people who you know need to be debunked. And I'm going to do that for this video too. I know like a lot of your favorites, especially when it comes to the Dragon Ball community, have stopped. They're like, man, I don't like debates. I don't like doing that shit. They also have their Discords and stuff up and say, come debate me on Discord. I kind of hate that corny shit. You know, it's a little bit corny to me. I'm like, yeah, don't just sit there and send it over to Discord. Don't just appeal to Discord. You're like, oh, it's like Discord with your hound dogs, with your people, so you can sit there and shit on them all day. And no, that's not fruitful discussion. That's not discussion. I'm not saying that everyone does that, but that's not really beneficial discussion or actual good debate. Okay? Neutral platforming, neutral parties, everything set up, and you have neutral judges. Otherwise, you don't get anywhere. With that being said, that's of course what we're going to do. If I'm the last one who has to stand up against the nonsense of Dragon Ball, and don't get me wrong, not everyone's going to be worth a debunk. There's going to be some people, like, this wasn't even pretty much worth a debunk almost. But yeah, I already addressed about why this video is really getting made, and then kind of like the overarching purpose. But still, the person makes an innocuous video of just talking their shit without actually doing anything that has anything worth critique or doing something like an external critique on it that is worth diving into, then there's no point for me to make a video, especially if it's like 1 minute long and it's just somebody memeing. Like, I can do that. There's a lot of videos out there where it's memeing, and that can be fun. You know, like every now and again, just throw out a meme video where it's like 1 minute long and it's just this person going, hey, you know, Goku would get killed by a rock. Ha. And then they put like a GIF up there, Goku hit by a rock, and then a huge explosion. Ooh, me. I mean, cool, sure, I'll just do the exact same thing to your argument, because that's not really an argument, that's not the structure of an argument, that's not how any of that works. So it's gonna be like fun videos to kind of like add some filler. But actual debate, actual critique, actual scaling, that is what I'm here for. So, that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.